your trip to the Gulf of America more economical than it would have
Yes.
been a couple of years ago. Gas prices, my friend, remember the first 30 days of the Trump administration? Why hasn't he brought prices down? Look at how expensive eggs are. Trump is lying. Remember all that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, here we have, and that's how they sound, by the way.
Yes.
That's how all the guys reporting on it sound. It's actually a perfect representation of their voice. Here is on Good Morning America, reporter Gio Benitez on gas prices. Play it.
There is some good news, and that's good news because most people traveling right now are traveling by road. Gas prices, $3.18 a gallon right now. That's the national average for regular unleaded. Last year, that was $3.49 a gallon, so significantly lower. So some good news if you're hitting the road.
Clay, it's the lowest that it has been in quite some time, actually, the gas price. Isn't it fascinating? Donald Trump comes into office and gas prices drop down quite a bit. The lowest since, I wanted to make sure, 2021. Lowest gas price in 4 years, everybody. I think that's just a marker here because, if the gas price was the highest it had been in 4 years, Clay, would be the number one story going into Independence Day weekend.
No doubt. It's actually the 4-year low for summer because inevitably somebody's going to come out there and they're going to be like, well, actually, they were low. Yes, gas prices, as everybody knows.
I said for Independence Day weekend, the lowest
summer,
it is.
4 years. And a lot of you will remember down 2022 summer was the absolute apex of Biden inflation, and gas prices were out of control in the summer of 2022. I noticed this in a big way. Because I just drove. I just drove from Nashville down to the lovely Gulf of America here. And along the way, I take note of what the price of gas looks like. And you mentioned that clip, which includes the crazy prices that people have to pay for gas in states like California, where they are taxing you like crazy on gas. Everywhere I drove, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida, all the gas prices unleaded are under $3 a gallon, sometimes as low as like $2.60, $2.50, even with the summer hike that always happens because so many of you are going to be on the road. So, yes, you're 100% right. They tried to make egg prices a big story. Egg prices are lower than when Trump came into office now. And people are recognizing. And by the way, the reason that egg prices went up so much was because the Biden team decided to kill over the bird flu fears. So many different of the animals out there
chickens.
That are laying the eggs. Chickens.
They killed a lot of chickens.
They killed a lot of chickens.
Very mean.
And
not nice.
And
not
now
nice.
Now the gas prices are down. We talked about this a little bit, but. Maybe we can get the clip from Trump's press conference on Friday where he was directly asked about this, as one so-called expert economist is now saying, actually, the impact of the tariffs on overall inflation seems to not have emerged. They keep saying, oh, you're going to see this in a month or you're going to see this in 2 months. And we're sitting here. When was Liberation Day so-called? Early April, if I remember. We have not seen any increase in prices by and large associated with the tariffs. And now people are starting to say, wait a minute, this is going to be a $400 or $500 billion net proceeds to the government, and the overall prices are not increasing. To your point, the average price that people are paying for groceries, the average price, eggs specifically, gas, all of it is down compared to in the Biden era.
And we have to also remember that while there's no inflation from the tariffs, according to Secretary of the Treasury Bessent, we also have very high rates right now. And the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, they're starting to say out loud in the Trump administration, time for a successor to Powell. If you start to get a substantial drop in rates, that'll add some rocket fuel to the economy, which will also help. But so we're already at all-time high in the stock market. Your 401ks are absolutely cruising. Your pension plans, because remember, the pension plan that you have, that also requires a return in the market based on the capital pool. So if you've got retirement anything, the market being really high is what you want to see. And so we're looking at the possibility of, I think, an even stronger economy going forward. Canada said it was going to have a digital services tax on tech firms in the U.S., getting a little frisky with us over the trade negotiations. Trump said, you know what? No more negotiations with you guys, and you're going to get hit with some big time tariffs. Guess what, Clay? Their tough talk from Canada on the digital tax lasted about 72 hours.
Yep.
And now here they are backing off of that one, saying, you know what? We should talk. We should talk. On the tariff thing specifically, I just want to add, it's one thing when everyone who hates Trump opposes something because they'll oppose anything, right? Trump can say, hey, guys, I want to put $100 billion toward curing, all forms of terminal cancer. And there'll be lunatic Democrats who are like, they won't really spend the money on this. It's all going to go to Trump's family member. They'll find some way to hate whatever it is he says. On tariffs, there was a lot of, dare I say, the conservative orthodoxy on this was opposed to Trump. The old school National Review, oh, what about Milton Friedman and William F. Buckley, etc. They were opposed to him on this, and it turns out, it looks like Trump was right, even in the face of a lot of people on his own team who are rooting for him, saying that this was going to cause problems.
Yeah, and here's a cut from the Friday news conference proving that there is starting to be a reassessment. And I would say in general that in the wake of COVID, and I think you're probably the same as me, Buck, my willingness to blindly accept expert opinion is basically at zero because they're wrong on so many things that they're supposed to be experts on. And here is that question, as one of the top economists has now said, looking at the data, hey, and I give him credit for being willing to acknowledge, hey, maybe I was wrong. There has not been any inflationary price pressure based on the tariffs. And here is that question from Friday's news conference with Trump, cut 25, I believe. Let's play it.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. What is your message?
I love this. I love this question. This is the favorite. This is the best question I've ever been asked because I've been going through abuse for years on this. Because as you know, we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, no inflation.
And he continued there. But, I mean, this is the reality when you look at what the data has shown so far. It is that, and it makes some sense, that price competition is so intense in the United States that many of these businesses don't have the capability to raise prices right now. And frankly, as many of you know, they used the Biden-era inflation as an opportunity to massively raise prices because everything was going up, and they also shrunk the amount of product that you're often getting in the prices in the process. Go look. And right now, because the economy is rolling and there is massive price pressure, in fact, contraction in many different things that you buy, they have not been able to actually do what everybody told you they would do, which is raise prices on a substantial level to make the consumer cover the inflation cost. So far, that is non-existent.
If you're Trump, would you listen to any of these so-called experts ever again who are all shouting at you that their econ models show that he's wrong?
No.
Really, like it. If I'm Trump, I'm just going to say, you guys shut up. I'm doing what I'm doing for the next few years. Trump's going to be 80 years old soon. He's been to the mountaintop. He knows what's going on here. He does not need the chirping in his ears from the economists in quotes. What does it even mean? It's like when people refer to consensus opinion on anything without actually telling you who the consensus is. So I think Trump is remember we talked about this on China and how everybody said he's going to start a trade war with China. And then he was so successful actually with China that Biden didn't even mess with the China stuff that he did.
Yes.
Because everyone realized he was right. This looks like another one of those moments, which is a big win for Trump. That's why he was strutting his stuff in that soundbite you played, because he knows.
No doubt. And also, I mean, I think it speaks to the fear of challenging conventional wisdom in the so-called expert class. Nobody wants to step outside and be noticed by doing something outside of the herd. It's human nature in many respects, but what you see is a herd of opinion, and it can't be the case that everyone uniformly agrees on a dynamic situation that is very difficult to predict. But being wrong, the fear of being wrong is actually more prevalent in most of these people than the risk of being right.
You're also we're all getting a real vision here, a real view of what does leadership look like when you're the leader of the free world, which is what the president is. What does leadership look like? It's deciding that you're going to hit the Iranian bunkers, even though people are shrieking about how it's going to cause World War III, and being right. It didn't cause World War III. It set back the Iranian program. It backed up our Israeli allies. It means starting tariff negotiations, despite the so-called consensus of economists out there shouting about how it's going to cause inflation and price rises and everything else. This is real decision making with real consequence where Trump has been right. He has been correct. And I just don't think he gets enough credit. Everyone realizes, Clay, he's a political and cultural phenomenon, but he is making calls against what the so-called experts and certainly what the general momentum on these issues has been. And he's already showing huge results. So I think that going into this weekend, we all have to remember that this is not easy stuff he's doing, and we are all benefiting from it, and we need to keep encouraging this sort of leadership and supporting this kind of leadership, including with the big, beautiful bill, which we're going to get to here in just a second with Senator Ron Johnson. I was at the range this weekend. Clay, I'm now also a range safety officer certified.
Big
so really,
time.
I can take you, Laura, the boys down. I mean, I'm trained, I'm insured, I'm all those things coming up this fall. So it's going to be good times. But I was talking to the guys out there, so many different law enforcement officers who are there as well, because they want to be able to either for training purposes themselves with their team or on their own, they want to be an RSO, range safety officer. One thing we talked about was non-lethals. Do you know what the favorite by far pepper spray brand of the officers I talk to is? Because a lot of them carry the pepper spray. Saber. So if these guys who have to rely on this day in and day out trust Saber more than anything else, you should trust Saber too. It is the number one pepper spray brand trusted by law enforcement, and I've got people telling me exactly that face to face. S-A-B-R-E is how you spell it. Their pepper gel projectile launcher, shaped like a pistol or a rifle, depending on the model, fires off a pepper gel projectile. Targeted, goes a longer distance than you'd think. It's very effective stopping an intruder. Saber, spelled S-A-B-R-E. Their website is Saber Radio, S-A-B-R-E, saberradio.com. This is not about getting away from 2A or guns. This is about additional options, non-lethal force escalation. Just like cops have, you can have this too. I've got a lot of guns. I've also got a lot of Saber. Terry likes Saber. Laura likes Saber. Get yourself some today. S-A-B-R-E radio.com. That's S-A-B-R-E radio.com or call 844-824-SAFE, 844-824-SAFE.